Welcome to the Women in Industry podcast. My name is Kirsty Davies-Chinnock, and today my guest is Dinhara Walters. She's the sales manager at Empire Resources. Empire Resources supply aluminium sheet, plate and bar to customers within the UK and Ireland from their warehouse in the West Midlands. With a customer-centric team, they've developed an impressive reputation and sell thousands of tonnes of material per year. Their customer range includes all shapes and sizes of customers and are spread across the four corners of the UK and Ireland. They include large multinationals with multiple service centres, metal centres and hubs, as well as smaller independent stockists. They offer customers an alternative source of quality products and assume responsibility for the shipment and timely delivery of products to them. Welcome, Dinhara. It's lovely to have you on.
Hi, good morning to you, and thank you. Nice to be here, I think.
Well, we've known each other for sort of 20-odd years in this industry
definitely.
through your previous roles.
Even though we're both about 25 still.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we are both 25. Or is that just how many pairs of shoes we buy on a monthly occasion?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Apart from shoes, you obviously spend a lot of time selling aluminium, and you had a couple of long periods with your previous employers, sort of like, you know, bigger stockholders, and then you were with the mill before you joined Empire. And Empire really is a small but sort of perfectly formed team compared to other roles in other companies you've worked in.
Yep.
How easy was it for you to adapt?
Do you know what? It was quite easy. I think, you know, anybody that's worked within a big multinational organisation will understand that there's a lot of layers. You know, if you want something done, you've got to email 10 different people, or you've got to go through this channel and that channel. So sometimes that can, although you're part of a big company, which is amazing, you've got the support there, sometimes I think it's quite difficult to access it quickly. Joining Empire, I think for me, was like my first day I asked for a test cert, and within seconds somebody's like sent a test cert to you. So it has its pros and cons. Obviously, we're a very small team. If somebody's on holiday, then it makes a massive impact to the workload of everybody else around you. So it's difficult in that sense. But I think in regards to, you know, to working in a smaller team, it has lots and lots of benefits. At first it was a little bit strange, I think, especially for the new person coming in. Everybody knows everybody, everyone's been here for a while, so are they going to like me, you're going to fit into the team? But you know what, I think the girls here, I mean, you know, Emma surrounds herself with a really, really good team. Everybody's really hard working, and they're so customer service driven that for me it was really, really easy to adjust and to settle in, because it felt easy. Everything here feels very, very easy. There's no, you know, you never struggle. There's always support around. There's always somebody prepared to help, which for me was just absolutely amazing in settling and adjusting.
And when it's a small team as well, you've got the flexibility of decisions. You can be a lot more reactive when needed. And as you say, there are pros and cons to both. You talking there about long-term relationships, and you've got a lot of long-term relationships with people in the industry.
Yes.
With your sort of like 23 years experience so far. Is that part of your role that you enjoy the most?
I think it is. I mean, it's lovely, you know, for me. I mean, I've lost contact with a lot of what I would say would have been my traditional customers since I've joined Empire, because we only deal with stockholders. But, you know, some of the customers that I dealt with, you know, I've known for over 20 years. They were a customer at Multi-Metals. They were customers at Thyssen, sometimes because I brought them on board, sometimes because they were already a customer there. And it's actually lovely with those relationships, I think, to see how their lives change. And, you know, I've got one particular customer I've known for 25 years. I remember her daughter being a little girl. She's now joined the police force. And you know, it's lovely to kind of grow with your customers, to see their lives changing. But I think relationships is just part of the job, isn't it? I think, you know, you work in sales yourself and have done for many, many years. And for me, it's the excitement of it. It's that kind of, we could potentially win this big order today, but we might not win it. We're up against somebody. And it's the negotiation, I think. It's the cat and mouse kind of side of things. I think as a salesperson, you enjoy it. It's that kind of, there's an opportunity here. And here in this office, I mean, if we win a big order, everybody's like so excited, and that momentum kind of just drives you on then to the next the next big thing, shall we say. I think it's important.
I agree, and it's those relationships that help you win the next big order. And yeah, it is. I agree with you about the team, like when someone does win a big order, and everyone's just really excited. And we sort of do daily KPIs, and the last couple of weeks we've had some really good days where we've like just smashed through targets, and it just feels really good, sets you up for the next day.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think you were talking then about customers where they had a small child, and now that child's in the police force, and that relationship where you have seen people grow up and their families grow up. I'm sure all industries are very similar, but obviously we work in the metals industry, and for me, seeing someone, even if I only see them every 12 months in real life, and just catching up and talking about what they're doing, what the partner's doing, what the kids are doing, it really does cement the relationship. And you've got some really good friends in the industry as well. I'm thinking in particular of Bronwyn and Joanna. How do you think the industry fosters these relationships?
Sorry, I think we've got a bit of a time lag. I think I can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Sorry.
So talking about Bronwyn and Joanna,
yes.
How do you think our industry fosters these relationships? How does it bring us together?
I think every industry you work in is very, very similar, isn't it? You meet people along your career journey, and you meet lots of people that I think are acquaintances, and if you saw them out, you'd stop and you'd say, oh, yeah, you do, how's life? And, but I think you meet certain people within life that are your people. And, for me, Bronwyn and Joanna are those kind of people. They're people that understand me. They're, people that get my sense of humour, and people that are just really nice to be around. And I think in any industry, I think probably in our industry as well, because when I first started out in the industry, there wasn't a massive amount of women doing the job. Bronwyn I've known for 25 years, speaking to her at the Metal Centre and different places over the years. And then I obviously came to work with her at Thyssen, and we just got on really, really well. So I think you recognise people within the industry that you speak to over the years. And I think certain people you gel with, and being the only kind of women, or some of a small minority of women, I think you tend to be drawn a little bit towards them anyway, because you've got more in common. Whereas I think, yourself, you go with the bloke to see customers, all men, we talk about golf, we talk about football, we talk about sport, and I think women are less that way inclined, but then you meet other women with similar interests, and I think then you kind of forge quite a good relationship because you've got a common ground.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And obviously you've been in the industry for like 25 years, and you've seen a lot of changes. Some changes for the good, and maybe some not so much. Is there anything that you miss that's changed?
For me, and I think you probably feel it exactly the same thing, is human contact. It's the talking on the phone, because I think as times progress, modern technologies come along, and technology is great. Let's face it, we all love iPhones and laptops and all these things that we've got access to now, but it's kind of killed conversation. Whereas when I was young and you wanted a price on something, you rung 10 different suppliers and you wrote all the prices down, and now I think you just ping an multi-email out to many people, and we've lost that kind of that personal touch. I think it's great. I think in the job that I'm doing now at Empire, I probably speak to more people actually on the telephone than I ever did when I was working in a stockholding environment, because it was becoming more and more paper driven and less about the person you were speaking to. And I think you miss those relationships. You've got a good relationship with a customer you speak to all the time on the phone. if you quote them, the price is rubbish, or they need some help, they'll come back to you and talk to you. Whereas I think on email, you just ping it out and forget about it, and we've lost the ability to negotiate with people. I think as a result of technology.
It's definitely much more noticeable in every industry and in every office how the phone ringing might be every fifth or sixth inquiry that you do, and the others are all emails, very much so.
Years and years ago, as you well know, if the phone in the office rung 3 rings and somebody's on the phone straight away, but I think nowadays the office in the phone rings, and I think now, especially with the companies where they've got younger sales team, they're a bit like, oh, that's a phone, that's a bit alien, because they're so used to doing everything on email.
We get customers contacting us by WhatsApp, by Instagram message, I mean, I'll talk to anybody however they want. If they're going to give me an order, I don't care. But it is nice to have that chat and catch up, what did you do at the weekend? Yes. How's so-and-so getting on? And just, you learn more about them and their hobbies, and you can really expand the relationship.
It's a personal touch, isn't it? It's that bit of banter. It's that kind of, what builds and cements a relationship going forward.
So you have been recently promoted at Empire to sales manager from BDM. Yep. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What new responsibilities does this bring you?
I think that's a difficult question because it's relatively early days. Since I took on the role, I'm more responsible for not only the sales side of the business, but purchasing, so managing what products we keep, looking at the different stocks, looking at the future, looking to see what we can do differently. But what is really, really important for me, especially, what is really, really important for me as well at this moment in time is to nurture the girls that we've got here. Because they're very talented, they want to do more, they want to learn more about the sales, more about the products. So my role going forward, I hope I can pass on some of the knowledge that I've gained over the years to give the girls an opportunity to potentially work in sales or do different things in the future. Empire over the last couple of months, or last probably 12 to 18 months, we've gone from strength to strength. Last month I think was probably the best month that we've ever had in terms of both bookings and turnover. So I'd like to think that I'm partly responsible for that, but I know it's a team. But it's just about, really for me, is moving forward and leading the people around me in the best way that I possibly can, so we can have the best possible business for the future.
And it's getting that knowledge transfer out of your head and into somebody else's. Because the longer we're in the industry, the shorter time we have left. We do have to retire at some point, apparently. But passing on what's going to help them develop is really important. But it can't all be about work. We have to have a work-life balance. You've got a family, you've got the wonderful Scampy the dog. How do you manage your work-life balance?
I think, like in any family, it's really, really difficult. You work 8-9 hours every single day. Sometimes I'm travelling with work, some away from home, and my husband and son have recently started their own business 18 months ago, so they're very rarely at home now. You're like ships in the night. But we try and make, even if it's one weekend a month, where we do something together as a family. I was up at 4:30 this morning because we've been away. We bought a little touring caravan during lockdown. We've been away for the weekend, so at 4:30 this morning we got up and drove home, ready to come to work and school today. But it's nice just to switch off your phone, switch off from work, and concentrate on each other for the weekend. Dogs have loved it. We've got another little dog as well, Luna. So Scampy and Luna love being in the great outdoors, field, woods, anywhere they can walk and get into a bit of mischief. Got a 7-year-old that also loves that kind of mischief, and it's nice to do something different. We like to be outdoors. We like the fresh air, so we just try and fit time in together doing something outside.
It's nice to be spontaneous, of course.
Yeah.
But with a new business, with your career, with a 7-year-old, you can't always be spontaneous. You have to plan it, and carving out that time is going to give you memories that are just going to be absolutely wonderful for all of you.
I think now as well, more so, because obviously I've got my son that's grown up as obviously a partner in my husband's business, so I never see him. So this weekend it was literally, right, we're all down until we're all going away, and we're actually having a family weekend, no interruptions, just about the five of us, which was absolutely amazing.
Oh, it sounds so lovely. Yeah, so my son's 27 and married, so and they've got a hectic social life, and I probably only see him once every 4 weeks now, him and his wife. And it's when they can sort of fit us into their diaries, and also I tend to have a busy schedule at the weekends as well. Quite often we work on a Saturday, so it's when I can fit them into my diary, and my son often works of a weekend as well, so it's it is, you have to plan it, but then it gives you something to look forward to.
Yes.
So looking back at your career, if you were talking to a young woman now who was just starting out in the metal industries, what advice would you give her?
Don't. Which is probably a little bit now. On a serious note, I think, for a young person joining the metals industry, enjoy it, listen to everybody around you, especially the, older people with the experience, absorb it, be like a sponge, take on board everything everybody tells you, because somebody tells you something one day that you think, I don't need to know that. But one day in the future, somebody will ask you that question, and all of a sudden you will remember that chinket of information that some 60-year-old man told you sat at his desk 20 years ago, and you'll realise just how important it was.
I think that's very true, and I think one of the things that, of course, we didn't have when we started out was Google.
Yep.
So, or the internet. So if you wanted to learn about associated industries, I learnt quite a lot about bending and shearing and blanking, because the metal we polished went through those routes. I was somebody that could be asked those questions, even though it wasn't our industry. But you want to become the default person people drop an email to or pick up the phone, even if it's not anything to do with giving you an order, because then you'll be default when they've got an order to place.
Yeah. So I think it's funny. I mean, my first boss when I worked at Multi Metals was a guy called Peter Mulroney. And Peter's been in the industry for years and years. And I remember being young, and he was, one day we were in the office, you need to learn how to work out the weight of a round bar. I'm like, why? There's books. It's here, it's on a piece of paper. What happens if you're out in the car, on the road, and the customer asks you for a price? And you're like, I'm never going to need that. And do you know what, 20 years on now, because we sell round bar, that information, I'm out and about in the car, somebody rings me up, and straight away I can give them a price, because, that bit of information from years ago was really, really important. And I don't think you realise when you're young how important the information becomes, and the people, I think, as well, when you're young, because for me, I had one or two amazing mentors in this industry who've kind of pushed me in the right direction, and as a result of that, I've got customers now that are no longer customers because I don't sell to end users. We will still drop you a text message or a WhatsApp or so, where can I buy this from, who do you suggest for this, what's your thoughts on this, because I've got that relationship and they know that I've got that knowledge when it comes to aluminium.
And it's trust as well. They trust you're going to point them in a direction that's going to be what they need, and it's going to be quality, it's going to be someone who's easy to deal with, rather than just Googling it, I suppose. One final question, Dinhara, and then you can go and sell some more aluminium. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Do you know what? I think for me, the best piece of advice I've ever received is be yourself, because there's nobody better. Because I think, I'm very much a person who is self-critical, and I've always been fearful in big companies that you get lost when you've not got a big personality, you're not loud and you're not in people's faces. And somebody within the industry who I worked with for many, many years said to, I was looking for a promotion, and, do I think do I deserve it? Am I good enough? And what happens if I felt, fluff up at the interview and I'm rubbish? And they said to me, you know what, just be yourself, there is nobody better. And you sit there and take that on board, and that is actually very, very true. We're all unique. We all bring something different to the world, to the party, whether it be personally or professionally. So why try to be something you're not? Just be yourself, and people embrace that kind of authenticity.
embrace the authenticity.
I don't know what book that come out of.
It's true though, isn't it? It's about being who you are. And I think particularly those who join the industry fairly young, you sort of try and make yourself somebody you're not, and it takes a while for you to sort of just be yourself
Find your true
completely.
self, doesn't it?
It does. Thank you so much, Dinhara, for coming
You're
on the
very welcome.
podcast.
Thank
It's been
you
an
for having
absolute
me.
pleasure.